विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा राष्ट्र हरि राधा राष्ट्र हरि राधे जय गौरांगी बैंगलोरेश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभु जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतः His Divine Grace जय प्रताप स्वामी गुरु महाराज की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतः His Divine Grace ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतः His Divine Grace श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जी गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शुभ गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय कावेरी माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nastaprai Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Mukam karoti vachalam pangulangayatim grim yatkrapatamaham vande Shri Gurunentarinam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. We're going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 5, text number 22. Give me a couple of minutes to share my screen. It's taking 1 minute. I'm just hoping. Was please allow me to do so. It's taking a little longer. Just give me 1 or 2 minutes more. Chapter 5 is titled The Cause of All Causes, and Canto 2. Sorry, it should be Canto 4. My apologies for a wrong page opening. Krishna. Yeah, so Canto 4 is the creation of the fourth order, and chapter number 5 is titled Frustration of Sacrifice of Daksha. And today we're reading, we'll complete this chapter today, starting with text number 22 and going up to text number 26. And this is the final outcome where we are seeing what happens to Daksha. So we're going to end this today, and tomorrow we will start Canto 4, Chapter 5, and text number, Canto 4 and Chapter 6. I'll just say share my screen. Yes, I'm ready to share now. अक्रमयोराशी दक्ष्या सीताधरेण हेतिना छिन्दन्नान् अपि तत् उदारतम् नाशकूटत्रयम्बकसा तदा अक्रमयोराशी दक्ष्यास्या सीताधरेण हेतिना छिन्नन्दान् अपि तद् उद्धारतम् नासानोत्रयम्बकस्तदा अक्रामयोषि दक्षाय सीताधारेण हेतिना छिन्दन्दान् अपि तद् उद्धारतम् नासाकोट्त्रयम्बकसा तदा. Word to word translation. Akramaya, having sat, Udarasi, on the chest, Dakshasya, of Daksha, Sita Dharena, having a sharp blade, Etina, with a weapon, Chindan, cutting, Api, even though, that head, Udharatam, to separate, Na Asaknot, was not able to, Trayambaka Veerabhadra, who had three eyes. Tada, after this. Translation and translation. There's no purport to this shloka, so we will read the translation. Then Veerabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. Let's continue with the 23rd, 24th, and 25 and 26, all the verses. Just trying to open 23rd verse. And we will go ahead with reading the word-to-word translation. We will recite the shloka once and read the word-to-word translation, read the translation and the purport as well. Just allow me 1 minute. I will try and read so that we can be a little faster. Sorry, the internet seems to be a little slow today, but nevertheless. Well, I have the other page open. I think I'll read this. This does not have word-to-word translation, but then we'll switch back to the word-to-word translation on the other screen. Shastrei astram vittair evam anirvinna tvacham hare vismayam param apno dadyayu pashupati stiram. Will not open. Sorry, seems to be a very slow. Sorry, my apologies. The net seems to be very, very slow today. Okay, there we get. Whatever translation for the 23rd verse. Shastre with weapons. Astra anvitai with hymns, mantras. Evam thus. Anirbhinna, not being cut. Vacham, the skin. Hara, Virabhadra. Vismayam, bewilderment. Param, greatest. Apanna, which was stuck with. Dadyau, thought. Pashupati, Virabhadra. Chiram, for a long time. Translation. Again, this shloka doesn't have a purport, so we leave the translation. He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hinds as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus, Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. Text number 24. Dvasva samjapana yogam pasunam sa patirmakhe yajmana pasokasya kayatenari chira. Word translation. Trastva, having seen, Samjapan, for the killing of the animals in the sacrifice, Yogam, the device, Pasunam, of the animals, Sa, he, Virabhadra, Pati, the Lord, Make, in the sacrifice, Yajamana Paso, who was an animal in form of the chief of sacrifice, Kasya, of Daksha, Kaya, from the body, Tena, by that device, Aharat, severed, Sira, his head. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. Purport. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifices was not designated to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was especially intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of the Vedic mantras. Yagnas were performed as the test of mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiological laboratories. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by the sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Virabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha to the astonishment of everyone. Text number 25. Sadhu Veda tattesam karma tattasya pasyatam bhuta preta pishachanam anyesham tat viprayaya. Word to word translation. Sadhu Vada, joyful exclamation. Tada, at that time. Tesham, of those followers of Shiva. Karma, action. Tat, that. Tasya, of him. Virabhadra. Pasyatam, seeing. Bhuta, Preta, Pishacham, of the Bhutas, Pretas, and Pishachas. Anyesam, of the others in the party of Daksha. Tat Viprayanam, the opposite party of that, an exclamation of grief. Translation. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out of grief at the death of Daksha. Verse 26. Jua vaitak chiras tasmin dakshani sagam amarsita taddeva yagnanam dagvata prathista guhuya kalam. Word translation. Juhava, they sacrificed as an oblation. Etad, that. Sira, head. Tasmin, in that. Dakshina, aganau, in the sacrificial arena on the southern side. Amarasita, Virabhadra being greatly angry, Tad of Daksha, Devayagnam, the arrangements of the sacrifice to the demigods, Dagdvada, having set fire, Prathistha departed, Huyaka Alya Alayam, to the abode of Guhyakas, Kailasha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements of sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode Kailasha. This verse also doesn't have a purport. This ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to fourth canto, fifth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Frustration or the Sacrifice of Daksha. Om Tat Sat Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam shows very well this conversation between, or the animosity, not the enmity, it is animosity of Daksha towards Lord Shiva is, clearly mentioned here, and what happens at the end. Though Lord Shiva, in the first time when he was insulted, it did not take it to his mind. He just left it without making any noise. Though his followers were very much aggravated, he did not. He just quietly left the sacrificial arena and did not, mind as far as he is concerned. But after that, the second time, Mother Parvati Sati was called, and she insisted that she goes to the sacrificial arena. And, she was smartly, she asked, if you wish, we can go. And she didn't say, I want to go. This is one point that we need to really understand, that she did not offend her husband, who's a great Vaishnava. So she said, if you wish to go, we could go. Otherwise, we decide. But then Lord Shiva said, I think you should decide what you want to do. If you wish to go, you can go, Devi, but then I may not be able to join you. And then Mother Sati goes there, and we see that, she was insulted by her father. And this is all because the ego that he had, and, that Vaishnava aparadh that he had committed actually uprooted all the good things. Daksha, otherwise, if you see, is Prajapati. He's the greatest of those demigods. But then even they could really get into this ego trip. And, he did not realize that, he was being very harsh to his own daughter. And at the cost of being harsh to his daughter, he actually lost her. And Sati commits suicide. And after committing suicide, when Lord Shiva gets to know, he becomes very, very angry. And the followers of Lord Shiva also become very angry. They go to the sacrificial arena and start uprooting everything.
And finally, as we see here, Veerabhadra, who is again very, very powerful, has three eyes. It is described here in 24th, 25th verse that, he has three eyes, and people with three eyes, he is very, very powerful. And then he tries to kill Daksha with, many weapons, but he couldn't really kill. And what happens is he realizes that, it's not easy to kill Daksha just by Vedic hymns or by taking the instruments and equipments that are used for killing. So he sees that there's a wooden kind of a plank which is left aside, which is used for giving away the sacrificial of the animals in the sacrificial arena. And he takes that and then he knocks off his head. And here also Srila Prabhupada very nicely makes this comment saying that the sacrifice of animals, so now it is rampant and people talk about it. In the earlier years, in the earlier yugas, it used to be like that. An old animal is sacrificed there and the animal gets a new body. This was just to test the powers of the Brahmanas or test the powers of the hymns, whether they are chanted properly or not. But in the current day scenario, there are no Vedic hymns which are chanted. It is just for sense gratification or for eating the flesh of that animal that they are being sacrificed and not otherwise. So in the shloka, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely says that, it is just to test the power of the Brahmanas and test the power of the mantras which are being chanted. That particular animal which is being sacrificed gets a new life, gets a new body, and then comes out. So that shows that sacrifice has been successful, and the animal also gets the new body. So what happens is, in such a case scenario, people are culminating the sacrifice successfully. But in other cases where we see in the current scenario, people just kill animals for their own sense gratification, and just eat it. Though initially they may give the name of Kali, sacrifice and this sacrifice and that sacrifice, but actually it is not so. It never is such sacrifice where it is for the sake of giving a new body or checking whether the mantras are really chanted properly or not, or whether the sacrifice is successful or not. But in the current scenario, they only do it for their own pleasure of the tongue. I was actually going through one of the lectures of His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu, and he says we really don't have control. People don't think of liberation. They only think of either Pravati Marg or Nivritti Marg. Soul is never bound, so it can never become liberated. Yeah, he makes this statement, and I was very stuck by this, saying that soul is never bound and it can never become liberated because it's always liberated. We are projecting as a matter, as a part of the material world from the absolute platform and not affecting the soul. So we should not negate the material world. We should look at it. Shouldn't really go with the Jnana Yoga. We cannot announce the material world. Not practically possible. We've all come in the material world. We should not negate the material world. And we can't announce it because, you can't go to the forest these days, can't go to Himalayas and, sit in the freezing waters and all of that. So we are all trying to fight with Maya, but our process should be to be engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness. We are so attracted to Maya that we cannot give up even the idea of being the doer. Yeah. You should give away the idea of being a doership. I'm not doing anything. Everything is done by Krishna. Maya is also an energy of Krishna. And material world is actually degrading. It is degrading all the time, from Satyuga to Kali Yuga. If we really look at the process that has happened, Kali Yuga is one of the worst yugas that you can think of. It's generally going down. Sometimes we feel it is going up. Sometimes there are good things which are happening. But it is all very, very relative. Kali Yuga is actually the last of the yugas, and it is one of the yugas, one of the worst yugas. And if you see in Kali Yuga also, the best of the times was during Chitragupta and Chanakya Pandit, that the dharma was really shining up, but not long. When Kali is finished, again we are going to go back to Satyuga. So Satyuga, Kali Yuga is not going to be permanent again. There is change happening. All the 4 yugas go around, round, round, round. It's a cyclical, process which is happening. So again, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, when he says chant the mantra and get the animal back to life, so that you can't keep it young forever. We can't keep the animal young forever. You may give the life, again make the animal young, but then again that animal will become old after a couple of years. What is the value of this in any way? The piety is keeping people from sinking down and giving some connection. So that is more important, to give that connection to Krishna, to give the connection to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we get association of Nitya Siddhas, who are the saving graces. Nitya Siddhas are devotees who are always dedicated to the holy name of the Lord. Nitya Siddhas. They're always dedicated. That's the result of the religion. There's no guarantee you may meet with another accident and take birth in the material world. It's like the waves. You have to just ride it. The waves come and go, come up and go down, come up and go down. There's absolutely no guarantee. Yeah. Material world is a place of suffering. Sorry. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. We are always trying to set off the problems and seek pleasures. Animals do so also, but they have no knowledge. We are also doing it. We have at least some little knowledge because we have been given intelligence by Krishna. So, intelligent person, that's a human form of body, should realize that this is not a place for me to be continuing my survival, continuing my place of residence. And I should finish my work at the earliest, sooner the better, and go back home, back to Godhead. The biggest advantage that we got in this Kali Yuga, though it is the degraded age, it is one of the worst possible age. It is an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. That is what it is defined as. But then the best advantages during this age of Kali Yuga, we can simply chant the holy name of the Lord and go back home, back to Godhead. And the process is very simple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us this. He said, Jare teko, tare ko, Krishna upadesh. He wanted everybody to chant the holy name of the Lord, because he knew that once, if anybody chants the holy name of the Lord, he will complete his, whether it is pleasures or pains in this material world, and they will go back home, back to Godhead. It's a transcendental knowledge given. Yeah. And this knowledge was given to us by the acharyas to perfect our lives and go back home, back to Godhead, finish our work in this lifetime. Though this life is a rocky situation, but we should not get overboard and lose sight of the purpose of human life. The sight of the purpose of human life is considered to be going back home, back to Godhead. That's the purpose of human life. Not otherwise saying that you come and build so many houses, you buy so many properties, and leave all this money for somebody to enjoy after you go. Yeah, you have, as a family, you have a responsibility of taking care of your family members, giving them good food, good shelter, good clothing, and making them Krishna conscious. It is also said, if you are not making your children Krishna conscious, then it is not practical, or you don't fit to become a father. You're not fit to become a father. If as a guru, if you can't liberate your disciples, then you're not fit to become a guru. Likewise, if you cannot liberate your children, you're not fit to become parents. So we test the efficacy of this mantra, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that we chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra with our hand in the chanting beads, the tongues being utilized for chanting the mantra, then we will be peaceful. Focus is very important. Mind is to be controlled. If we don't, Krishna is not going to be happy. Yeah. Krishna says, yes, you chant my name and I'll be happy. But then if you don't focus on him, he will not be happy. Automatically, the senses are controlled once we are focused on the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We have to be fixed up with the knowledge. If we are really absorbed while chanting, then we'll have to have the japa time when we are doing the japa time. No walking, no looking around. There has to be a specific time. Why there is a specific time for chanting the holy name of the Lord also? That is also specific because then the focus will come. You know where to sit, you know how to sit, you know what to chant, and you know at what time to chant. When regulation comes in place, then things fall in really place. Yeah. So we have to really make it a point that, I chant my rounds between so many hours, or within such and such time, at a particular place, having the picture of the Lord in front of me, or having the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in front of me, and completely focus on the mantra, on chanting. Then we can take shelter of the holy name. We can test it. How do we test it? If your eyes are not becoming wet when you're chanting, when tears are not rolling down your cheek, and if your hairs are not standing up at the end, it is not considered to be your. It is still, you're chanting with heavy heart, or you're chanting with a heart which is like a rock. Yeah, your heart is still very hard. So when we continuously take up this process, when you chant regularly, when you chant with focus, when we chant with attention, when you chant in association of the devotees, slowly over a period of time, our heart starts becoming softer and softer and softer. And once it really becomes softer, we are feeling the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to approach him in his dimension, in this dimension, actually. Yeah, that my heart becomes very, very soft when I'm chanting the holy name. My focus is 100% on there. And then Krishna will reveal to us. Yeah. One needs to be philosophically convinced also. In this material world, we are temporarily happy. We are happy at times, there's happiness. Our children have done something material, or our children are, well behaved. Then there is temporary happiness. It is not lasting more. The moment that child commits some mistake, your happiness is all gone. You're again in distress. Most of the time is spent in I like this or I don't like this. This is coming between us and Krishna, as there is, as we feel that this is more important. I like this. I like going by car. I like going here. I like going there. So these are challenges that we really see, and because of this, I think we are coming in between Krishna. Yeah. So this is coming in between Krishna. Yeah. If we chant sincerely, Krishna is not revealing to us fully. We are not qualified. Though he is there, it's not that he is not there. He is always around with us. We always have his presence felt. But the problem is that we are not chanting as convincingly to him. When a child does not really ask his mother very, 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 very steadfastly to give him the chocolate, she will not give. Yeah, if the child doesn't cry to get get the milk, mother will not feed him. Likewise, if we don't cry to Krishna, and the cry has to be really very, very sincere. The chanting has to be very sincere. When we chant sincerely, Krishna will reveal to us fully. So the whole idea behind the chanting is that is the basic for our Krishna consciousness. And when the basic is solid, when we chant our rounds very well, I think all the other anarthas are taken care of. We will have the taste for reading. We will have taste for association of devotees. We'll have taste for doing the deity service. We will have the taste for preaching. We will have the taste for spreading the holy name of the Lord. So it is very important that we solidify our basics. When you construct a house, it is very important to have a very solid foundation. The foundation of Krishna consciousness continues to be chanting of the holy name. There is absolutely no change in that. How many ever floors you build in the house, but if your foundation is not solid, it will never be able to support it. You may be reading for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. You may be doing a lot of seva in the temple. You may be doing a lot of deity worship. But if your chanting is not solidified, if it is not really strong, then someday or the other, it is, it's a boom which is just created. It can break any day. That halo which is created will break. It is not a proper concrete building. So one needs to really focus on his chanting very, very enthusiastically, very sincerely, and with philosophically convinced grounds. And that's how one can be really happy in this material world. One can really take up to Krishna consciousness nicely and practice and move ahead with it. So we will end our conversation here today. The shlokas, again, were not very many and not much of a purport given by Srila Prabhupada. But our basis, again, as I said always, is the chanting of the holy name. So one needs to really focus on the holy name of the Lord and practice Krishna consciousness. And when it is practiced in that sense, one will be sure to get liberated from the material world and go back home, back to Godhead. But there's a lot of work which is to be done here. It is not as simple as it is spoken. It is not as simple as it is spoken. So one needs to seriously take up. And when one takes this seriously, he realizes that the victory is all his. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Who declares this? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself declares it, saying that Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. When we chant the holy name of the Lord, the victory or the success will be all ours as we move forward from there. So I will end the session here. I will end the class here. If there are any questions or any comments or any corrections, please let me know. I'll be happy to take them. Though there was not much of this one in the purport today, but we have to focus on what is Krishna consciousness and how one can become a devotee of the Lord. Thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I thank the management for giving me this opportunity to speak today on this subject. And if anybody has any question or comments or corrections, please go ahead and make it. So if there are no questions or anything, then I will end the session here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Tathai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.